Resident Evil is seen by many as one of the original games of survival horror. In fact, it was the first game to be named as survival horror. Resident Evil is seen by many as one of the most important video games of all time. On its release, Resident Evil was critically acclaimed, with reviewers highlighting the gripping pace, as well as the challenging combat and puzzle sections. Its use of fixed camera angles and shadows helped bring a truly horror experience to the gaming world. The game was a bestseller in a number of places, including Japan, North America, and Europe. Shortly after its release, it became the best-selling PlayStation game ever. In Europe alone, 230,000 units were sold on the first day. This was a big deal at the time. By December 1997, the game had sold over 4 million units, and in 2002, Capcom would re-release the game again. Resident Evil would help launch a franchise that is still going strong to this day. It would help launch 2 separate movie series and a Netflix show as well. It truly was a groundbreaking game and is seen by some Resident Evil fans as one of the titles in the golden age of Resident Evil games.
Resident Evil.
The game starts in July 1998. After a number of murders committed around the Arklay Mountains, the Racoon City Police Department has sent in Special Tactics and Rescue Squad, all stars, to investigate. However, during the mission, the RPD lost contact with Bravo Team, and so Alpha Team has been sent in to investigate.
Alpha Team is flying around the forest zone situated in northwest Racoon City, where we are searching for the helicopter of our compatriots, Bravo Team, who disappeared during the middle of their mission.
Haven't found it yet?
No, not yet, Brad. Bizarre murder cases have recently occurred in Racoon City. There are outlandish reports of families being attacked by a group of about 10 people. Victims were apparently eaten. The Bravo Team was sent in to investigate, but we lost contact.
Not long into their search, Alpha Team spot a crash site that looks like it could belong to Bravo Team. This is where their nightmare would begin. It is a great introduction to the Resident Evil universe, helping set the tone of the game straight away. In the original Resident Evil 1996, the introduction is very much the same in terms of its tone. Back when I played this as a kid, this scene was terrifying.
Alpha Team is flying around the forest zone situated in northwest Racoon City, where we're searching for the helicopter of our compatriots Bravo Team, who disappeared during the middle of our mission.
You haven't found it?
No, I haven't found it yet. Bizarre murder cases have recently occurred in Racoon City. There are outlandish reports of families being attacked by a group of about 10 people. Victims were apparently eaten. Bravo Team went to the hideout of the group and disappeared.
Look, Chris!
It was Bravo Team's helicopter. Nobody was in it. But strangely, most of the equipment was still there. However, we soon discovered why.
Hey! Come here! Whilst looking to escape the Cerebus, the remaining members of Alpha Team make it to a mansion.
There are only 3 STARS members left now. Captain Wesker, Barry, and myself. We don't know where Chris is.
The mansion in the 2002 remake is stunning to look at. The developers have done a great job at presenting a gothic style of horror with the design and layout of the mansion. Upon arriving, the remaining STARS members, Jill, Barry and Wesker, realise that Chris is no longer with them. Upon hearing a gunshot, Jill and Barry go to investigate, while Wesker stays to secure the main hall. Upon entering the dining room, all that is left is a pool of blood. The dining room is once again a great example of why this remake was worth making. The gothic style really helps add to the atmosphere. Jill decides to explore further, and it is here where we come across one of the most iconic scenes in Resident Evil history. I think many people will agree, especially old school Resident Evil fans, that this scene will forever be iconic in Resident Evil. So much so that they tried to capture the scene in the most recent Resident Evil film.
Hey, RPD. Hands! Show me your hands! What the fuck? I need you to stay right there.
Jill makes her way back to Barry. Barry shoots the monster, eventually neutralising it. The two decide that they must report back to Wesker. As they leave, however, something unexpected happens. The body has gone. The dead refusing to stay dead is a theme that is very common throughout this game. When Jill and Barry return to the main hall, Wesker has disappeared. With neither of them knowing where he could be, they decide to split up and begin searching for any remaining members of Alpha and Bravo team. The game does a great job at setting up a tense and ominous atmosphere. While exploring, Jill discovers that the people who used to work here are in fact scientists working on illegal experiments led by Oswald Spencer, one of the founders of the Umbrella Corporation.
Ah! Jill.
Barry, I didn't mean to get you that excited.
Right. Anyway, you should read this. What do you make of it?
Well, I guess we were right about this mansion being quite unnatural.
You have a way with understatements.
Where's the part that's torn off?
Well, my only guess is that it was the most important part and somebody didn't want anyone to see it. Let's continue our investigation.
After solving some puzzles, Jill eventually unlocks a crypt that contains 4 masks, a hanging coffin and a book with a key. Jill must find all 4 masks in order to continue. While exploring, Jill is confronted with a number of horrific encounters, one of which causes her to be sick. The mansion itself is a death trap, not just filled with horrific monsters, but also with deadly traps. Jill encounters this early on when she manages to get hold of a shotgun. Luckily, Barry saves Jill at the last moment and delivers this amazing line.
A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Despite Barry saving her, Jill questions Barry's reasons for being on the same side of the mansion as her, as it was his idea to search the different areas independently, and Barry's response gives us a not so convincing explanation.
But Barry, didn't you say you were going back to the dining room to find other clues? I'm glad and all, but why are you here?
I just had something I wanted to check. Anyway, we should get back to searching for Wesker and Chris.
Thanks, Barry. I owe you one.
Don't mention it.
After a length of time exploring and discovering some masks needed to open the coffin, Jill stumbles across Richard, who he claims has been bitten by a giant snake. Jill needs to get some antidote to help Richard with his wounds. If this is not done quick enough, Richard will die. Jill gets back just in time to save Richard's life, leaving him to rest as Jill continues to explore the mansion. While exploring, Jill comes across another document in which the writer talks about the outbreak in the mansion. As the entry goes on, the man becomes more and more delirious as the infection takes over. He mentions that bits of his flesh are falling off and that he decided to kill one of his co-workers and eat them. As Jill finishes reading the entry, she is attacked. Parts of the scene were taken once again and put in the new Resident Evil movie, especially the reference to itchiness and hunger one feels as the infection starts to take over. Jill is beginning to understand what happened in the mansion. While exploring the rooms, Jill discovers a number of items, one of which being a musical score that helps her to unlock a secret room. Jill uses the score sheet to play Moonlight Sonata on the piano. Playing this sequence unlocks that secret room. This is another scene that was replicated in the newest Resident Evil movie.
Listen, do you hear that?
In the room, Jill finds a diary entry written by George Trevor. In the entry, Jill discovers that George Trevor was the architect of the mansion and all of its puzzles. It is for this reason that Oswald Spencer, the head of Umbrella, decided that he cannot be allowed to live. The entry details how scared he is, and how he wishes he was with his family once again, but how this would not be possible as he overheard people say that his family are likely to be dead. He decides, however, to try and break out of the very mansion he built. Jill takes the gold emblem that is left there and uses it to find the key that will help her reach the attic. Upon entering, Jill is attacked by a very big snake. Luckily, Richard comes to Jill's rescue, sacrificing himself in the process. Jill is able to pick up the final mask as well as Richard's shotgun. With this new item, Jill makes her way back to the tomb. Once there, Jill places all 4 masks on the statues, resulting in the coffin collapsing, revealing what Jill would discover is a Crimson Head zombie. These zombies are quicker and stronger, and Jill fights for her life to survive the encounter. Once Jill kills the Crimson Head zombie, she discovers that in the tomb is an emblem that will help her open the door leading to the courtyard. Upon entering the courtyard, Jill receives a call from Barry, telling her not to go into the forest outside the mansion, as there is a monster in chains. Despite the warning from Barry, Jill decides to go into the forest anyway, and eventually stumbles upon a cabin. Upon entering, Jill is attacked by Lisa, an unfortunate test subject of Umbrella's, who for many years has been tested upon. Jill manages to escape and makes her way to the other side of the courtyard, where she receives a message from Brad, telling her and any remaining STARS members to get in contact with him.
This is Brad. If you can hear me, just give me a sign. Anything.
Jill to Brad, can you hear me? Shit, it's broken.
After exploring the courtyard, Jill eventually finds a cabin that contains a number of horrific test subjects. Upon entering, Jill is attacked by a tentacle that she only just manages to get away from. Jill has only seen something similar to this early on in the game, in which she is confronted with a plant that is stopping her from reaching one of the masks. Unable to deal with this new monster just yet, Jill enters a room to discover the next horrific test subject: spiders. Luckily, Jill manages to fight off these horrific arachnids, only to overhear Barry talking to someone. She cannot tell who he is talking to, but from the conversation, something is not quite right.
No, that wasn't part of our deal. But it's not necessary to destroy stars. What about my family? If I play my cards right.
Upon entering the room, Barry is by himself.
Jill!
Barry, I heard someone talking.
Oh, you heard. I think age is starting to take its toll. Talking to myself is becoming a bad habit.
Talking to yourself? You all right? What's gotten into you?
I'm getting you worried, aren't I? But don't, I'm all right. I guess this creepy mansion has gotten to my nerves. Anyway, I think I'll go outside, get some fresh air for a change. Don't worry, I'm just going to get some fresh air.
Jill, for some reason, believes him. Throughout this period, Jill encounters a number of horrific sequences. After exploring some more, Jill finds a hidden door that leads to an underground facility. The facility is full of water, and it is here that Jill meets the next test subject, sharks, with one in particular named Neptune. Jill must fight her way out of the facility, being forced to fight off Neptune as it hits the glass in order to get to her.
Emergency! Emergency. Unknown source of pressure detected. Locking all doors to achieve maximum safety.
Following a specific sequence, Jill just about manages to drain the water from the facility. In order to get to the next location, however, she must walk past a seemingly dead Neptune. Neptune is not dead and instead traps Jill. Jill uses her quick thinking and electrocutes the shark to death. However, the nightmare is not over yet. Jill manages to eliminate the bees by using a pesticide, helping her to grab what she needs. Jill continues to explore, and after putting some books in a particular order, she is able to unlock a secret door. Before going through, Jill reads a report about a test subject known as Plant 42. The report contains notes on how to defeat the plant. Jill might wish that she never went through this door, however, as she is then attacked by Plant 42. Jill manages to escape and now knows that she must defeat the plant in order to continue. Jill manages to do this by unlocking a room that contains chemicals. After some careful mixing, Jill is able to create the toxin needed to kill the plant. Jill then makes her way back to the underground facility in order to use the toxin on part of the plant. Once used, Jill makes her way back to the room she was previously attacked in.
What the hell is this thing?
Barry!
Jill!
I thought it was finished.
Yeah.
That was close. Thanks again.
Don't mention it. But what was that? What the hell's going on in this place?
Plant 42 is defeated by Jill and Barry, and as a result, Jill is able to pick up another key that seems to be for doors back in the mansion. As Jill makes her way back to the mansion, she runs into Wesker, who seems to be shooting at nothing.
Wesker!
Jill, so you're safe.
That's what I was going to say.
I apologize. It was all I could do to protect myself against those strange creatures.
I understand. Anyway, it's good that you're safe.
Did you notice? Barry, he sounded a little flaky.
Now that you mention it, yeah. I'll keep a close eye.
Maybe it's quite natural under these circumstances. It's not really our standard operation. Jill, our first priority is to get out of here.
I agree.
There are still rooms in that mansion we can't get into because they're locked up. I've been looking for ways to...
Okay, if there's anything, I'll go back to the other mansion.
I'm counting on you.
Wesker is very suspicious with us, telling Jill that he had to leave the two of them behind at the mansion because he was attacked by monsters, but there was no evidence of that at the beginning of the game. After conversing, Wesker tells Jill to head back to the mansion and continue exploring. As Jill makes her way back to the mansion, she once again receives a call from Brad.
This is Brad. Come in, Stars Alpha Team. Come in.
This is Jill.
Does anybody hear me?
I hear you, Brad. Over.
Stars Alpha Team. Bravo Team. It doesn't matter. Respond. I repeat, this is Brad.
Brad? Brad!
This is Brad. If you can't answer me, somehow give me a sign.
Once Jill gets back to the mansion, she is confronted with a new type of monster, one that will cause some problems for the rest of Jill's time in the mansion. After the encounter, Jill continues to explore the mansion, but is frequently attacked by a combination of monsters. The new monsters break down doors a number of times, making it impossible to know what is behind each corner. Not only this, but many of the zombies killed at the beginning of the game have now mutated into Crimson Head zombies, making it even more difficult to navigate around the mansion. Not only are there obstacles in Jill's way, but some zombies have also moved throughout the mansion to new locations. After fighting her way through a number of enemies and solving new puzzles, Jill eventually finds a passage that contains more extracts from George Trevor's diary. George notes that he is unable to escape from the mansion. He asks for forgiveness from his wife and daughter. We discover that his daughter's name is Lisa. That's right, this man is the father of the test subject Lisa, who we encountered earlier on in the game. As the entry ends, it is clear to see that he has accepted his death. It ends with George realising that at the end of this dark room is a grave with his own name. He knows now that his fate was sealed all along. It is a tragic story that shows just how strong Resident Evil can be at story building. All of these entries will lay the foundations for the expansion of the Resident Evil franchise. Jill notices that there is a button on the grave that she uses to escape from the hole, having to fight a number of zombies in the process. Continuing on, Jill enters a library, in which she is once again attacked by the giant snake. After a prolonged battle, Jill eventually defeats the snake. After killing the snake, Jill collects a number of items, including a book and a battery. After exploring more, Jill also comes across a document that informs the reader that X Day is coming, and that the recipient must follow the procedures when this day arrives. The first thing that they must do is lure stars to the mansion in order to collect key data. Umbrella had planned this all along. This was not an accident, it was deliberate. Umbrella had set the whole thing up. With this new evidence, Jill continues to explore and uses that battery in order to get into an underground area of the mansion grounds. It is here that Jill gets all Indiana Jones as she escapes from a giant boulder. It is after this that Jill finds Enrico, a member of Bravo team, who informs her that they have been set up and that there is a mole within the STARS team.
Is that you, Jill?
Is that voice Enrico's?
Yeah?
You're alive!
Stop! Are you with anybody, Jill?
No, but why?
The stars are finished. Someone is a traitor. Umbrella set us up.
Enrico! Traitor? Who?
This leads to the question, who is the mole? There are a number of suspects, including Wesker, Barry and Chris. For now, however, it will have to remain a mystery. It is after this that Jill is then attacked by a humongous spider. After fighting for her life once again, Jill eventually defeats the spider, allowing her to continue this search of the underground area. After solving a few more puzzles, Jill is able to fix the lift. It is at this moment that Jill is conveniently met by Barry, who decides to go down in the lift with her. Once the two of them get off the lift, they hear a sound.
What the hell is that sound? It could be a person.
Jill, go check it out. We had enough surprises for one day. I'll stay here and secure our escape route in case something happens.
Okay.
Barry asks Jill to find out what it is. However, once Jill leaves the room, Barry leaves Jill behind, which is not the nicest thing for him to do. Jill is once again confronted by Lisa, and in order to escape she must solve a puzzle. This puzzle opens a door that leads Jill to Lisa's lair. Jill finds a jewelry box that contains items that will help get to the underground facility. Jill also finds a letter that helps explain what happened to her family, helping us to conclude that Lisa is indeed the daughter of George Trevor. With this new item, Jill is able to open the mysterious door that is in the main hall of the mansion. This door leads to a crypt, and within that crypt is Barry. Jill confronts Barry about him running off.
Jill, you're alive. I was worried, because I thought you were...
Start talking.
Calm down. I didn't want to do it. Believe me, I can explain.
Don't lie to me!
It is at this moment that Jill and Barry are attacked by Lisa. Jill is then confronted with a choice. Does she give Barry his gun back or not?
Thanks, Jill.
Jill and Barry fight Lisa. After managing to open the coffin, Lisa grabs the skull of her mother and then jumps to her death. Barry and Jill decide to split up again. Jill seems to have forgotten about Barry's attempt to kill her 5 minutes ago. Jill continues to explore the crypt and eventually arrives at a new area of the mansion. Here, Jill uses the book she found earlier to open the doors to Umbrella's lab. Jill discovers that the mansion is just a cover for Umbrella's underground facility. Jill looks for a way out, and while doing so, she discovers documents written by a worker named John. In the document, he informs a woman named Ada to destroy the facility. This is in fact the same Ada that we meet in multiple future Resident Evil games and movies alike. Once again, the level of world building for a game made in 2002 is amazing. With that in mind, Jill looks for a way out, hoping to destroy the facility in the process. After solving some puzzles, Jill discovers a slide projector that contains information on all the BOWs Jill has fought throughout the night. On the last slide, we see a picture of all the scientists, with one in particular looking very familiar, Wesker. For some reason, Wesker is still wearing the same sunglasses in an underground lab. Jill, knowing the truth, looks to find her way out by unlocking the doors to the helipad. While doing this, Jill is attacked by another new BOW, with this one seemingly looking like an insect. Eventually, after fighting her way through a number of these creatures, she comes across a locked door. Behind that locked door we find Chris, who has been missing since the attack in the Arclay Forest.
Jill?
Chris! You're alive!
Of course I'm alive. Jill, there's something big going down, and I don't think we're part of the equation.
I have to get you out of here.
Jill cannot help Chris, however, as the door is locked. She promises to come back for him once she finds a way of opening it. After opening all of the locked doors, Jill meets up with Barry once again.
Jill!
Barry,
You could have at least waited up for me, you know?
let's go.
Jill and Barry, while trying to escape, run into Wesker.
Wesker!
Thank you, Barry.
Well, what do you know?
Oh, don't blame Barry for everything. I hear that his better half and 2 lovely daughters will be in danger if he doesn't do everything I tell him to.
We find out that Wesker has been blackmailing Barry into helping him. Wesker tells Jill that he is not working for Umbrella. He seems to have gone rogue, instead serving his own self-interest. Wesker's real intention was to activate the Tyrant Project. Upon hearing their discussion, Barry shoots Wesker, but it does not stop him from activating the Tyrant. Once activated, the Tyrant kills Wesker and injures Barry. Jill once again must defeat the Tyrant and help Barry escape. After defeating the BOW, Jill and Barry make their way out of the facility, but not before Jill goes back to rescue Chris from his cell.
Jill.
Sorry about the wait.
So everything's taken care of?
Well, almost. Now let's get the hell out of here.
Once rescued, the three of them make their way to the helipad, where Jill signals Brad. However, the Tyrant is not really dead. Chris, Barry and Jill fight to fend off the Tyrant. Brad is able to drop a rocket launcher from the helicopter. Jill uses it to defeat the Tyrant once and for all. Jill, Barry and Chris are rescued by Brad and the mansion is destroyed. The four of them ride off as the sun begins to rise, knowing that their nightmare is finally over. Throughout the game, there are a number of puzzles that need to be completed. This for me is one of Resident Evil's strongest gaming mechanics. The puzzles in this game for the most part are not too difficult, but they can offer some challenges. For example, with certain puzzles, your failure to complete it correctly can result in instant death. As a result, players need to make sure that they are saving at the correct times, otherwise they may have to play large sections of the game all over again. The game is like one large puzzle. Each one that you solve feels really satisfying. It is a feeling that is difficult to explain if you have never played Resident Evil before. With each puzzle you solve, you feel as if you are one step closer to understanding what happened in the mansion. The puzzles combined with the horror mechanics makes Resident Evil a truly unique experience, and one that I would recommend to anyone watching who perhaps has not played the game yet. I've tried my best not to give too much away when it comes to the puzzles, just in case there are viewers who perhaps have not played the game yet and wish to do so after watching the video. To summarise, the puzzles in Resident Evil are one of the many reasons why I love this game. Without them, the game just wouldn't have the same feel to it. Resident Evil uses fixed camera angles. This is done on purpose. By doing this, Capcom can exploit camera angles that are often seen in horror movies. This means that they can set up atmospheres in different areas. To add to this, the camera often stops the player from seeing what is in front of them. This can help add to the horror. Often players can hear what is in front, but must keep walking forwards to actually see it. It is such a smart way of creating suspense. I know that there are some who do not like the fixed camera angles. I can understand how at times it can be infuriating. However, for me, the fixed camera angles really help add to the horror. Of course, as we have seen in new entries, Capcom is still capable of creating horror without these fixed camera angles, but I still miss them. In the original Resident Evil, movement was done by using the direction buttons on the left hand side of the controller. I still play the game like this as I quite enjoy this control style. It allows me to control the character a lot better. In the 2002 remake, however, they added analog controls to the game. This for many was a good addition as it allowed the player to move quicker. For me, however, using the buttons adds to the horror as one wrong move could result in death. The shooting mechanics are still great. Shooting a zombie's head off with a shotgun will forever be satisfying, and Resident Evil has always been great at using gore. Players have to be careful when using ammo, as it can be very easy to run out. Even when you have a lot of ammo, you still feel as if you need to preserve some, helping add to the atmosphere of the game. The last area I want to talk about in this section is safe rooms and saving. I love safe rooms in Resident Evil. There is no better feeling than coming across a safe room in the Resident Evil universe. Hearing the music is such a great feeling. The sense of relief you get when entering these rooms is a testament to how well Capcom is able to create a tense atmosphere. To add to this, the saving mechanics in this game mean that you will always be on edge the moment you continue after saving. Players use ink ribbons to save their progress. There are only so many players can find, so you have to be careful with how often you use them. There is no autosave, so if you die after not saving for a long time, you will be taken all the way back to your last save. Some players learn this the hard way. The saving mechanics in this game really do help add to the atmosphere. It makes you realise how important dying can be. The horror in Resident Evil, as discussed briefly, stems from a lot of different points. The first, as we have already discussed, is the camera angles. The ability to not really know what is around the corner can really scare players. People are afraid of not knowing what is there, especially if their brain is telling them that there is something. Capcom are the masters at doing this to the player. To add to this, the use of the doors also helps add to the horror. Every time a player goes through a door, they have no idea what will be behind it. As soon as the player clicks on the door, there is no going back. I cannot tell you the amount of times I got through a door and saw a crimson head zombie sprinting towards me. I would panic and run back through the door. It is such a great way to add to the atmosphere, and it is something that I miss in modern Resident Evil. Another big area to discuss when it comes to the horror in Resident Evil are the encounters you experience throughout. Perhaps the most famous is when the Cerberus crashed through the windows. When playing this for the first time, this can be truly terrifying. It makes the player terrified of walking past any windows for the rest of the game. Other examples of this are the many times zombies or monsters move through doors. It adds fear because you realise that at any point a room you consider to be safe may not stay that way for long. An important area to quickly talk about once again is the saving mechanic. Your ability to only have a set amount of saves can really help add to the horror. Dying could see you return to a save you made 30 minutes ago. No one wants to repeat everything all over again, and as a result players are constantly on edge. It is a smart way of creating tension. One of the things I love is that every time you enter back into the game, you are given these brilliant pieces of text. They really help put you right back into the tense atmosphere of Resident Evil. The last area I want to discuss is the use of monsters. Of course we have zombies, one of the best horror monsters. It is a monster that people will always be interested in. But then we also have the other monsters. Capcom intentionally use monsters that people are afraid of in real life. Examples of some of these monsters being snakes, sharks, spiders and insects. I believe Capcom knew exactly what they were doing when they chose these monsters in the game. All of these factors combined create the unique horror scene in Resident Evil. Resident Evil is a game that would revolutionise the survival horror genre. It would lead to Capcom creating one of the longest and most successful video game series. It is clear to see why this game received critical acclaim. Resident Evil, despite being made over 20 years ago, is still a hugely popular game, helping show just how well made it is. It is a game that I would recommend to anyone. Its use of puzzles, horror, and certain gameplay mechanics make it a truly unique experience. Are you ready to enter the world of survival horror?